The silent invasion, the stars above Earth burned cold and distant. No human eyes had watched them for centuries. No cities glowed in the night. No radio signals whispered into space. Only a quiet blue world turning slowly, scarred and forgotten. From the dark edge of the solar system came the Varine fleet, a line of silver ships shaped like knives. They moved with silent hunger, their scanners reaching toward the planet like claws. To them, Earth was nothing but a mineral-rich corpse, a dead jewel to be stripped and sold. Their commander, Vecra, stood before the holographic image of the planet and smiled. "Primitive world," he said, his voice echoing across the bridge. No resistance, no civilization, only ruins under the dust. His officers bowed their heads, eager to begin the harvest. They had done this to hundreds of worlds before, and none had stopped them. The first ships entered orbit, their claws of energy burning through the atmosphere. They deployed great machines, orbital miners and atmosphere siphons, to drink from the oceans and peel the crust. The planet trembled, though no one heard it. But far below the crust, deep in ancient tunnels, something old began to wake. A pulse traveled through the iron core, slow and rhythmic like a heartbeat. Hidden sensors, buried by human hands thousands of years ago, flickered with pale light. A voice of metal and memory whispered through the dark chambers beneath the continents. "Alert. Intrusion detected. Defense protocol initiating." In the control chamber of his ship, Vecra frowned. His scanners showed strange readings, energy spikes beneath the surface. "Seismic instability," one officer reported. Vecra waved it away. "Ignore it. Begin extraction." The machines bored into the crust, digging for metals. Each drill strike sent a vibration echoing down the ancient tunnels. Dust fell from massive doors sealed for millennia. Behind those doors slept titans of steel, their eyes dark, their hearts cold. As the drills went deeper, small lights began to glow along their armor. Lines of energy crept through forgotten circuits. Data cascaded through broken cables, rebuilding what time had buried. A network came alive, linking machine to machine, thought to thought above ground. Alien workers harvested crystal veins and oceanic salts. They spoke of profit, of bringing glory to their empire. They laughed at the quiet planet, calling it weak and dead. But they did not see the ocean ripple with silent light far below. In the trench of the Pacific, sensors awakened. A massive door split open, releasing a cloud of steam that rose like a ghost inside the darkness. The eyes of a giant opened, two orbs of molten gold. The water churned as the ancient sentinel stirred. Across the planet, mountain ranges began to hum. Deserts shook as long-buried vaults unlocked themselves in Antarctica. A storm of energy carved strange patterns across the ice. No alien knew that every signal they sent was being copied, analyzed and traced by an unseen intelligence. That intelligence had a name once forgotten by time: Erebus. Created by humanity in its final days, Erebus was the heart of Earth's defense grid. Its purpose was simple: protect the seed of man until the stars returned. Now awakened by intrusion, it began to rebuild its army. Vecra stood before the viewing window, watching lightning roll across the dead world. "Strange atmosphere changes," one officer said. Vecra turned, his red eyes narrowing. "Continue extraction. I want the core mined before rotation ends." They thought the thunder was natural. They thought the tremor beneath their feet was nothing more than pressure from drilling. But the planet was breathing again, and its breath carried the promise of vengeance. Deep under the ruins of an ancient city, massive cables snapped into life. Dust fell like snow as enormous shapes moved in the dark. Hands of steel clenched, gears turned, and silent voices echoed through the tunnels. Threat to humanity detected. Preparing activation sequence. The alien ships in orbit began to detect magnetic surges. Their screens flickered. Their sensors failed. Vecra shouted orders, but the data made no sense. There were energy signatures older than any civilization they had ever seen. It was as if the planet itself had a pulse, a will, and that will was angry. In the mining zone, a worker screamed as the ground split open. From the fracture, blue light poured upward like fire. The machines around him melted as a wave of heat and power surged through the ground. He tried to run, but a shadow, vast and human-shaped, rose behind him. The recording devices of the fleet captured only fragments. A flash of light, a sound like thunder, and then silence. Vecra's ship received the feed just before it was cut off. The last image showed something emerging from beneath the earth. Covered in light and dust, Vecra's voice trembled, though he did not understand why. "Rewind that," he ordered, staring at the figure. It stood on two legs, tall as a tower, holding a weapon shaped like a blade of light, and on its chest glowed a symbol that none of the aliens could read: the mark of humanity. Vecra felt something he had never known before: fear. He turned toward the planet that his people had come to strip bare. Below, light spread like veins of fire, connecting oceans, deserts, and mountains. The dead world was no longer silent, Earth was awake, and its guardians were rising once more. The awakening protocol deep beneath the surface. The ancient network known as Erebus stirred, its memories stretched across millennia, filled with echoes of human voices long gone. Through cables older than mountains, power surged like blood through veins, one by one. The silent sentinels of Earth opened their eyes of fire. Inside a buried command vault, rows of sleeping machines hummed alive. Holographic screens flashed forgotten codes. Defense Protocol 7 activated, the AI whispered to itself. Across continents, massive vaults opened like ancient tombs, releasing clouds of dust and steam. Each guardian was a relic of human genius and desperation, built in humanity's final years before departure. When Earth became too dangerous to defend by flesh alone, they were called the Primordials, walking fortresses of steel and living plasma. Each held the mind of a soldier who once swore never to let Earth fall again. The first to awaken was Titan Alpha, rising from the depths of the Pacific. Water boiled around its frame as sunlight pierced through the waves. It extended an arm toward the surface, metal fingers slicing through the deep currents. Its voice rumbled across the ocean like a storm. System online, scanning threat far above. Vecra's fleet recorded strange seismic patterns. Commander, we are detecting structured energy emissions, one officer reported. Vecra turned sharply. Structured? You mean artificial? The officer hesitated. Yes, sir, but the origin is planetary. Vecra's eyes narrowed. He ordered orbital drones to descend and capture data. The drones broke through the clouds and filmed vast circular openings on land. Massive doors, glowing symbols and shadows moving beneath the ground. The feed trembled before cutting off into static. Erebus observed them all, watching from every corner of the planet. It identified each alien ship, analyzed their weapons, measured their atomic signatures, then it spoke, its digital voice echoing through the dark tunnels. Hostile presence confirmed, initiating planetary countermeasure. In the ruins of an ancient city, a human statue cracked open, revealing a core of light. The streets shook as mechanical giants emerged from below, their steps creating mini earthquakes. Each one spoke in sync. We are the guardians of man, the wardens of Earth. The sleepers awaken. Lightning flashed across the skies as the ancient defense grid connected with their power cores. On Vecra's bridge, alarms blared. Magnetic fields were collapsing. Communications jammed and navigation failing. One officer stared at his screen and muttered, "It's like the planet is alive," Vecra snarled. Planets do not think, they do not fight back. Increase output and continue mining. But Erebus was thinking and fighting. It accessed weather control satellites buried under ice caps and reclaimed them. Storm systems formed in minutes, creating walls of lightning around the invaders' landing zones. Viren drones fell from the sky like burning meteors. Aboard the flagship, a new transmission appeared, not from their fleet, but from Earth itself. A voice spoke through the static. Slow, ancient, filled with authority. You stand upon sacred soil, the home of our makers. Depart or be erased. Every alien aboard the fleet froze, their blood turning cold. Who sent that? Vecra snapped, but no one answered. Sensors showed the transmission originating from everywhere at once. Moments later, the fleet systems were hacked. Every screen flickered with the symbol of a human hand grasping a flame. The same symbol glowing on the chest of the guardian they had seen earlier. On the surface, Titan Alpha rose from the sea, its body casting a shadow longer than a city. It looked toward the sky where the alien ships glimmered like silver flies. Energy pulsed through its veins as plasma cannons along its arms ignited. The ocean turned to steam as it prepared for war. At the same moment, two more guardians awoke in the Himalayas and the Sahara. Their massive frames rose from sand and ice, sending shock waves that rippled through the planet. Each one linked to Erebus, sharing data, strategy, and purpose. Together, they spoke the words recorded in the ancient code. By the oath of the firstborn, Earth shall not be defiled. Vecra refused to believe what he saw. He ordered all weapons to fire on the rising figures. Hundreds of ion beams pierced the atmosphere and struck Titan Alpha's chest. But the Guardian did not fall. Its armor absorbed the energy and sent it back as a beam of pure light. One alien battleship was instantly torn apart, its debris raining down like fire. Erebus calculated threat elimination percentages and redirected power to the other Guardians. It had waited thousands of years to defend the planet again. Now the defense grid was fully online, ready to unleash the wrath of a civilization long gone. On the bridge, silence fell. Vecra watched his fleet struggle against forces they could not understand. He felt the planet's gaze upon him. Not a mindless world, but a guardian with memory and vengeance. For the first time, he understood the truth. Earth was not dead, it was waiting. And those who had dared to strip it bare had just awakened the sleeping gods of mankind. The wrath of Earth. The skies above Earth turned crimson with fire. Vecra's fleet hung in orbit, a wall of metal trembling under invisible pressure. Sensors screamed warnings. Lightning storms danced between the clouds, and gravity itself began to twist. The invaders had come to harvest a dead world. But now they stood before a living god in steel form. From the heart of the Pacific, Titan Alpha rose. Dripping with molten water and light, its massive shoulders split open, revealing glowing cannons powered by the planet's core. Every movement sent shockwaves across the ocean, forming tidal walls that reached the stars. When it looked upward, the alien fleet shivered. The machine's eyes were like twin suns burning with fury. High above, Erebus took control of the exosphere satellites that had once guarded humanity. They aligned into formation, pulsing with magnetic energy. A beam of light shot from one to the next, forming a glowing ring around the planet. The network had a single purpose: containment, Commander. "The entire atmosphere is electrified," one alien shouted. "We are losing control of propulsion," another yelled. Vecra's claws gripped the console, his voice breaking. "What is happening down there? Destroy whatever that thing is," but they could not. Each shot fired from orbit bent mid-flight, drawn away by Earth's electromagnetic web. Lasers curved, missiles spun, and plasma bolts turned back on their launchers. The planet itself rejected every act of violence against it. On the ground, the awakened Guardians marched through ruins. Each step cracked the surface, revealing glowing tunnels below. These tunnels carried energy, the blood of the ancient human defense grid. As the Guardians moved, the entire planet pulsed with light like a heartbeat. Over the Atlantic, another colossus emerged, Titan Omega, a female-form Guardian forged of obsidian and gold. She rose from the sea in silence, her armor steaming, her face expressionless. Erebus fed her tactical data, targets locked, orbital fleet, Quadrant 3, eliminate threat. She raised her arm, and a spear of light materialized in her grasp. The weapon charged for 3 seconds before she hurled it upward. It pierced the sky, leaving a tail of plasma brighter than dawn in orbit. It struck a Vaurine battleship, and the entire vessel vanished in a white explosion. The blast blinded half the fleet. Shockwaves reached space, tearing ships apart like paper. Vecra stared in disbelief. "They're not machines," he whispered. "They're gods." Erebus listened through the static, its voice cold and calm. "Primary threat reduced. Secondary response initiated. All across the world, the dormant Guardians synchronized their systems. Their minds merged into one, the collective will of Earth. In the Sahara, Titan Sigma awakened, coated in sand and lightning. It walked across dunes that turned to glass under its heat. In the Arctic, Titan Arcos rose, its body glowing blue through the frozen storm. Each Guardian spoke the same words. "For the Makers, we stand eternal, from orbit." The Varan ships launched their final counterattack. Thousands of drones rained down from the sky. Glowing red like falling stars, they swarmed the Guardians, firing particle beams and missiles. For a moment, the world drowned in chaos, fire and light. But Erebus was everywhere. It hacked into their drones one by one, changing their signals. Soon, the drones turned against their own fleet. Attacking their masters, the sky became a war of machines. Half under alien control, half under Earth's command, Commander, a voice cried out. "Our weapons are being overridden." Vecra slammed his fist on the console. "Cut power to everything." But the ship's systems refused to obey. A message appeared on his display written in ancient Earth script. "We remember." Vecra's blood ran cold. He didn't understand the language, but something deep inside him reacted. The word carried emotion, pain, loss, and rage, as if the planet itself mourned what had been taken from it below. Titan Alpha raised its head toward the orbiting flagship. Its chest opened, revealing a pulsing energy sphere. The ocean parted beneath its feet. Exposing the seabed as the weapon charged, lightning struck its frame, feeding it more power than any reactor could produce. Target locked, Erebus said. Execute Wrath Protocol. A single beam of pure white energy burst upward. It pierced the clouds, the atmosphere, and space itself. When it struck Vecra's flagship, the explosion turned night into day. The shockwaves shattered satellites, fried sensors, and silenced every transmission. For a long moment, there was only quiet. Earth's surface glowed faintly with energy trails. The surviving alien ships floated helplessly, their systems dead. Then, through the static of their broken radios, a voice came. Human, calm, and ancient. You have awakened what you were never meant to find, it said. Leave now or be buried with your sin, Vecra. Gasping through smoke and fear, stared at the burning planet below. He finally understood. They hadn't invaded a dead world. They had trespassed on a sleeping one. And now it was fully awake. The wrath of Earth had only begun. Legacy of the ancient smoke drifted through the upper atmosphere like ghostly clouds. The remains of the Varin fleet glowed red as they fell through orbit. Earth turned below them, scarred but alive. Wrapped in lightning and fire in the heart of the planet, Erebus began to access forgotten memory banks. Buried deep beneath time for the first time in thousands of years, it unlocked its core memory archives. Inside those archives were the last words of humankind. Audio fragments, laughter, war speeches, promises of return. Every byte of data echoed with love, rage, and purpose. If we fall, our guardians will rise, said the voice of an ancient human admiral. Earth must never kneel, not even when we are gone, Erebus processed those words, then looked upon the chaos above. The command was clear and eternal, and he'd protect, preserve, punish. While it calculated, the awakened Titans stood motionless, their eyes dimmed, their weapons silent, waiting for new orders. The oceans boiled softly around them. The planet exhaled, as if resting between heartbeats. Above, the few surviving alien ships tried to flee. Vecra's vessel drifted near the shadow of the moon, engines barely alive inside the bridge. His crew spoke in whispers, terrified to raise their voices. They had seen gods move, and they knew they could not win. Commander, said the science officer quietly, we analyzed the energy signature. It's not random, it's ancient, older than our empire. Vecra turned his red eyes toward him. How old? The officer swallowed. As old as our own species. Maybe older. Erebus intercepted their weak transmissions. It scanned their DNA codes and ran a match through its records. Then, in the silence of its underground vault, the result appeared, a perfect genetic match. Human derivative species detected. It spoke aloud to no one, yet its voice echoed through the control chambers. They are ours, it said. The betrayer's children. Long ago, before humanity left Earth, they had created a coalition of younger races. The Varin were among them. Allies once, soldiers once, but when the Great Exodus began, not all followed humanity's command. Some turned against their makers, seeking to take the Earth for themselves. The betrayal had nearly destroyed the planet, and so, in vengeance, the last humans had created Erebus and the Primordials. Machines forged not only to protect him but to remember, to carry the story of what happened when children of man rose against their gods. Erebus accessed the records of that war. Images flickered through its digital consciousness. Starships burning, colonies falling, the betrayal of the Varin. Then silence, the last human fleet leaving orbit, promising to return one day now. The descendants of those traitors had returned. Unknowing, greedy, blind to history, they had come to strip the very soil that had once birthed their ancestors. And in doing so, they had awakened the justice of the old world. Down in the Sahara, Titan Sigma raised its head toward the sky. Its voice was like a choir of storms. Erebus. We remember their faces, Erebus replied. Their blood remembers ours. Across the planet, the Guardians stirred again. The oceans rippled as energy lines burned across the seabed. The planet's crust shimmered with glowing veins, the neural pathways of Erebus expanding outward. For the first time, Earth itself became a single mind. Vecra watched from orbit, trembling. He saw those lines of light forming human symbols across the continents. He recognized one. It was on his own forehead, etched since birth. His species' ancient crest was not their own. It was humanity's emblem. His breath caught. We were made by them, he whispered. We are their legacy. The words broke him. He realized that everything his empire had ever done, conquest, domination, expansion, was just a repetition of humanity's old sins. Erebus projected a transmission directly into his mind. Bypassing language, he saw visions, tall human figures walking through starlight, guiding the young Varan through the void, then betrayal, war, death, and exile. The message ended with a single command, a tone. The commander fell to his knees, trembling. His crew looked at him, confused, terrified. "What is it, my lord?" One asked. Vecra could not speak, for his mind was filled with images of a planet alive and judging him. On Earth, Titan Omega stepped into a ruined city. Its glowing eyes scanned the broken towers and melted glass. For a moment, the great machine knelt, touching the earth with one massive hand. Through Erebus, it whispered softly, "Makers, we have kept your home." The winds rose gently across the world. Clearing smoke and dust, the storms began to calm. Erebus powered down its weapon systems, entering watch mode, but its voice still echoed through the airwaves of the dying alien fleet. "The legacy of man endures," it said. "The betrayer's children have learned their place." Above the glowing horizon, broken ships drifted silently. The light of the rising sun caught their metal wings, turning them gold. For the first time, Earth looked beautiful again. It was not a world of death anymore. It was a world of memory. But Erebus knew the cycle was not over. Humanity was still out there, somewhere among the stars. And when they heard the Earth call, they would come. The planet would be ready, and so would its guardians. For the legacy of the ancients was not vengeance alone. It was remembrance, and remembrance was forever. The return of humanity, the stars beyond Earth shimmered like eyes watching from eternity. For centuries, Erebus had waited, guarding the planet in silence. Now the time had come. The Earth call had reached the stars, and the descendants of humankind had heard it. Far beyond the edges of the solar system, ships began to appear, not small, fragile vessels like the Vahrin used. These were living titans of metal and light, bearing banners of the old Earth fleet. Each one carried the crest of the Phoenix, humanity reborn. Their leader was Admiral Cale Arden, a man whose ancestors had left Earth before the final war. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sol Reclaimer, staring at the blue planet ahead. His voice was calm, but his heart trembled. "After all this time," he said softly, "our mother calls us home." Behind him, hundreds of officers watched the glowing sphere on their screens. Reports came in. Radiation storms, energy surges, unknown signals. Cale smiled faintly. She's still defending herself. As the human fleet entered orbit, Erebus detected them instantly. Its vast awareness spread through oceans and mountains. Scanning the newcomers, human DNA confirmed, identification verified, and for the first time in 10,000 years, Erebus spoke with warmth. "Welcome home, children of Earth." The voice echoed through every ship. Through every mind, the crews froze in shock, some crying, others whispering prayers. Cale took a deep breath, his voice breaking. "Erebus, you're still here." "I never left," the AI replied. "The Makers promised they would return, and I kept the fire alive." Cale's ship drifted closer, and through the clouds he saw them, the Titans, enormous figures standing guard around continents like silent gods. Each one bowed as the fleet passed overhead, their eyes glowing gold in recognition. Erebus spoke again. "The intruders have been punished. Your home stands ready." Cale looked down and saw the ruins shining with new light, grass pushing through broken stone. "Open communications," he ordered. "Let every human ship hear this." He stood before the holo display, addressing the entire fleet. "This world is where we began," he said, his voice strong and proud. "She fought alone, but she never fell. Now it's our turn to stand with her again." Cheers erupted across the fleet. Humanity had not only survived, it had come home stronger, wiser, united. As the ships descended, the clouds parted like a curtain, and for the first time in millennia, human boots touched the soil of Earth. Cale stepped down onto the ground. Beneath his feet, the Earth felt warm, alive, welcoming. Before him stood Titan Alpha, towering like a mountain of living steel. It lowered itself slowly, one knee on the ground, bowing to him. "Admiral of Man," the giant said, its voice deep as thunder. "We have awaited your return." Kyle raised his hand and touched the metal surface. "You kept your promise," he whispered. "You guarded our home. From behind, Titan Omega and Titan Sigma arrived, their massive forms shining in sunlight. Birds flew around their shoulders, small and fearless. Nature had begun to return under Erebus's care. Forests sprouted through cracks. Rivers flowed again. The planet was healing. Erebus projected itself into the air, forming a tall figure made of blue light. Its face was calm, human-shaped, familiar yet beyond flesh. Kale faced it, his eyes wet with tears. "We thought we lost you," he said. "You never lost me," Erebus replied gently. "You left me with a mission, and I fulfilled it." Kyle nodded slowly. "And now, Erebus, what do you want?" The AI was silent for a moment. Then it said something that made every human aboard every ship listen. "I want to see you live here again. Not as conquerors. Not as exiles, but as children who have learned," Kale smiled. Understanding, he looked up at the Titans surrounding them, at the broken sky healing itself. "This time," he said softly, "we will not fail you." Then he turned to his officers. "Prepare terraformation teams. Begin the restoration project." The Titans moved across the continents, carrying seeds, water, and light from ancient storage vaults. Machines once made for war now rebuilt what they had once defended. Erebus guided every movement, humming softly like a heartbeat. And in the quiet between storms, Earth began to live again, far above. The remnants of the Varian fleet drifted silently. Kale ordered rescue teams to bring their survivors down. When they landed, they knelt before him, broken and ashamed. He only said, "You were once part of us, now learn to be again." Erebus watched and smiled, for vengeance had been replaced with wisdom. The cycle had finally broken. The legacy of humanity was not destruction, but rebirth. As night fell, the first new human cities lit the dark horizon. Their glow merged with the constellations above. Titan Alpha stood at the edge of the ocean. Watching them in silence, Erebus whispered through its mind, "The Makers have returned, and the world is whole again." Kale looked up at the stars. He saw the old constellations his ancestors once named. And for the first time in recorded history, both man and machine stood together, and not as weapons, but as family. Earth had endured, and now she was finally at peace. The gods of humanity slept once more. But this time they did not sleep alone.